Hello mga investees at mga convincers, saan mang panig ng mundo kayo naroon ngayon, sana ay nasa mabuti kayong kalagayan. Welcome sa Usapang Pera Live. Kami po ang inyong mga financial guro. Ako po si Sir Vince.
At ako naman si Sir Ed.
Ayan, nako. Meron na naman tayong kakausaping napakagandang binibini ngayong araw. At
Totoo.
akala ko kapangalan ko. Hindi pala.
Hindi.
Last name pala yun.
Last name niya yun.
Ayun, oo. So, mga kasama po natin ngayon si Miss Universe Philippines Charity 2021, Victoria Velasquez Vincent. Ayan. Hello, VVV!
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. Hello to everyone watching. I hope you're doing well.
Oh no, kami dapat magpasalamat for joining us.
No.
Ayun, oo. So, you're given the title of Miss Charity sa sa Miss Universe. Pero ano ba yung sa'yo? Ano yung charity for you, Vicky?
What is charity for me? For me, it's honestly just making an effort to use your resources or whatever you can to be able to improve the lives of other people, especially if they are underprivileged or if they have a special condition or something like that. It's just about helping other people in whatever way that you can.
Correct. Ayan, So, yun yung natin. So yun yung charity talaga sa iyo, no? So, would you consider yourself charitable?
I do, yeah, not only financially, but in terms of my time also. I dedicate a lot of time to raising awareness for a lot of things, advocating for things, and I've also helped other organizations in the past to, just carry out their works.
Actually, ang ganda-ganda nung sinabi niya na, syempre, Miss Charity. Naku, ang tanong ko sa'yo, V, do you need to be like rich to become charitable?
No, not at all. Honestly, it's not just about money. It's about time as well, and your knowledge and your expertise, and putting that to use to help other people.
Correct. Ayan. So, pero curious ako, nasaan ako ngayon? Kasi parang may studio lights ka sa likod.
No, it's just I'm here in my condo.
V, I hope you don't mind me asking, how tall are you? You look so tall.
I am 5'9". Fun fact, everyone talks about my long legs. Actually, it's because when I was a baby, my mom used to massage my legs, but also like pull them at the same time. So I think that's why my legs are medyo long.
Okay. So, sabi mo kanina, no? So you could be giving actually your time, your knowledge, your expertise, your energy. Ako nga minsan sinasabi ko pa, you could actually give your emotions to charity, no? Listening to someone, ganyan. So ikaw, ano yung mga nagawa mo na charitable work? Can you give us some examples?
So I think one of the most important things, especially as a title holder, is to use your platform in a way that is beneficial for, all the organizations and everything that might not be able to reach so many people. And then aside from that, I've also done, because I'm a graduate of architecture and heritage conservation. So I've helped the architect of Habitat for Humanity. So, it's really not just about finances at all. It's about time and even your skills. You never know. Like, I'm sure a lot of people would never partner architecture with charity, diba? Like, they think architects, we just make a lot of money or whatever. But for me, anything that you do, any skills or knowledge that you have, you can apply it to help other people.
Right. Oh my God, wait lang. Ina-excite ako doon kasi Habitat for Humanity nabanggit niya. Meron kaming social enterprise. It's called the Social Enterprise Development Partnerships Incorporated. And what we do here is we provide capital to low-income households in Mindanao. And the second level that we're going to right now is we're going to build a socialized housing for them.
Oh, wow.
Baka naman, ma-designan mo.
If you need help, oo.
Kasi we already bought 11 hectares of land and we plan at the minimum to build around 400 to 500 houses. Ayan. So, hinayjack ko yata.
Ako, ang gusto ko itanong kay V, kasi kanina nasabi niya na you don't need to be rich at naniniwala naman tayo dyan, di ba? However, V, kung sakasakali na people around you or other people, ang kailangan nila ay pera, talaga nagsabi sila, pera yung kailangan nila. What do you think are the prerequisites for people to have before they help other people financially. What do you think about this?
Honestly, I think it's a case-to-case basis. I know a lot of people are willing to give even if they also don't have much, and that's really beautiful. But I think it's also important to consider our state of financial security as well.
Mhm.
And something that I've learned from my parents, for example, like my parents send a lot of money back here to the Philippines to help our family. And so they've taught me two things: to always give what you can, but then to also make sure that, you won't end up struggling also, because otherwise, diba, that's kind of going against what you're trying to do in a way. You want to be
Mhm.
able to be secure yourself so that you can keep giving. Parang ganun.
Mm.
Ang
Tama,
galing. Uy,
oo.
naniniwala din kami dyan, V, ha?
Oo.
Parang hindi yung kinakailangan na ikaw na may nagbi-bleed, di
Oo,
ba?
oo. At saka yun nga
Mm-mm.
you cannot give what you do not have,
Yes.
'di ba? So you really have to make
Oo.
yourself financially stable first bago ka magbigay.
Mm-mm.
Kaya nga ako ang lagi kong sinasabi sa mga yan ay actually kung wala kang mabigay, gaya ng sinabi natin kanina, we can give time, ganyan, no? But you can also pray for them,
Yes.
'di ba?
Mm-mm.
You can also
Or advice.
link them to people who can help them
Yes,
financially,
oo,
'di ba?
tama.
Mm-mm.
Ayun. Tapos nabanggit mo na yun nga no, you grew up in New Zealand, tapos so your dad is Irish, your mom is Filipino. In terms of handling money, are you more Irish, Filipino, or or
Kiwi!
Kiwi? Or Kiwi? Ayan.
Wow, in sync pa rin. Honestly, I don't know if you can put the way that you spend money. I don't know if you can associate that with specific cultures. But
Mhm.
for me, I don't know, it's kind of a mix between both of my parents. Because my
Mhm.
dad, he's the kind of person, he likes to spend money on quality over quantity. So even if it might be a little
Ah.
bit more expensive, it's something that's gonna last a long, long time. But then my
No, very
mom,
French yan actually, 'di ba? Si Edwin nagrereklamo pag nasa France kami kasi ang konti-konti ng pagkain ang mahal-mahal.
So
oo,
expensive.
true.
pero pero high quality kasi.
But the quality is, I must
Oo.
admit, quality is high.
But i-compare mo yan sa sa Italy, ang dami, pero masarap din.
Masarap pa din eh.
Oo,
Pero
oo.
hindi
Mm-mm.
gourmet,
Oo,
di
pero
ba?
hindi
Mas
gourmet.
mas hearty, di ba? Ganyan.
Sorry, we digress.
Sorry, we cut you
We
off.
cut you
Sige,
off.
B, tuloy mo lang.
Yeah, so for me, it depends. Sometimes I want quality over quantity. So, halimbawa, when I buy clothes, I'll always buy quality para it's sustainable at the same time. But then when it
Mhm.
comes to actually, like you said, food, I'm more about the quantity over the quality.
Naku,
Even if I spend thousands of pesos on McDo or Jollibee, okay lang yan as long as I get my
sorry.
Pero grabe, bakit ganon ang unfair ha? Bakit ganyan yung katawan mo?
At pati yung mukha niya, ang
Di
ganda-ganda.
ba?
So blessed talaga siya.
Kasi kami talagang pag nag-junk food, gaganyan na agad. Actually, si Edwin, makaamoy lang ng pagkain,
Tumataba
tumataba
na ako,
eh.
2 pounds.
Ayun. Anyway, so ang isang interesting din you told us nga na you're an architect. So you have maloka ka, double master's degree in architecture and heritage conservation.
Oo.
So can you tell us more about what heritage conservation is?
So I specialized in heritage conservation in terms of architecture. So it was like you said, I did it at the same time. So
Mhm.
basically, heritage conservation with architecture is like, you know how you see heritage buildings that sometimes people just demolish them and then they rebuild something in its place. So
Yeah.
sayang
Mga
naman the
UNESCO ba yan,
building.
ganyan?
Mm-mm.
Oo. So parang if it's still structurally stable, structurally sound, then heritage
Mm.
conservation is about adapting and reusing that building to suit a different
Mm.
purpose. So it might have been used for something else in the past, but now we can turn it into something completely different.
Right. Oo. Kasi dun sa socialized housing na that we're planning to put in, mayroon dong tribe, the Manobo tribes. And what we're trying to do is to incorporate also the design of the houses ng Manobo tribes with the designs of the socialized housing. Kasi they have to be, may mga areas talaga na swamp yung areas. So nasa stilts talaga dapat yung mga bahay, ganyan. Tapos yung airflow dynamics din tinitignan.
Saka alam mo,
ganyan.
V, ang nakita kong interesting sa sinabi mo, especially I see this in many European countries, mga cities, no? Yung kanilang mga architecture, parang ang luma sa labas, but well-maintained. Pero pagpasok mo, modern na. Is this something about
that's what
heritage
adaptive
conservation?
reuse is.
Yun pala yun.
Kasi meron yun in the Netherlands, 'di ba? Mga heritage houses. So, yung mga ano yun ba doon sa canals. Pero pag pumasok ka doon sa mga bahay
Modern
nila,
na
oh my
modern
God,
na.
super modern. So may
And you
target
know, it can
area
be
ka ba?
anything
Sorry.
talaga.
Yeah.
Sorry, it can be anything talaga. Like there's a very famous heritage building in New Zealand, in Wellington, the capital of New Zealand. And from the outside, you wouldn't expect it to be anything new or modern. But then you walk inside, it's a Burger King pala. And a beautiful heritage building, but it's Burger King.
Ang cute.
So okay lang yung ganun kasi minsan na ano din ako na hindi kaya yun parang naging kapitalista na, parang ganun.
I think it's adapting to modern times as well. Tama ba, V?
Yeah. As long I mean they have a certain list of requirements with architecture. Like they can say you can touch the windows, but you cannot touch the rest of the facade. So yeah, there's all the requirements and the specifications naman.
Ang galing.
Ayan. So, what's your favorite place in the Philippines, architecture and heritage conservation-wise?
Well, of course, I would have to say Cavite. We are the historical capital of the Philippines. But aside from that, and aside from all of the, I guess you could say, more like civilized construction methods. I really enjoy, true Philippine architecture, going back to the Bahay Kubo and, all the houses on stilts, like you said. For me, I think that needs to be maintained and that needs to be conserved in our country because it's part of what makes us Filipino. And diba, we were colonized by so many other countries for so long. And I feel like our architectural identity is medyo lost and it's kind of diluted. So I really wish we could go back to incorporating elements of the Bahay Kubo and everything into modern design because it's so possible. It's definitely possible.
Totoo yan, ano? And then, V, yesterday, we actually talked to Katrina Dimaranan and she shared na she and her boyfriend, Robbie, are already planning to find a home in the near future. Now, for those young couples who are looking for a house, is there any advice that you would like to share with them, lalo na in terms of architecture, ganyan? Meron ba?
Sana all my jowa. Kasi I'm also looking for a house here now in the Philippines. I'm renting a condo at the moment, and for me, I don't like burning money through paying rent. That's not the way I like to live my life. But so yeah, I'm looking for a house also, and I think one of the most important things to consider, this is coming from someone who is working in the construction industry, is to make sure that you get builders and everything to do the checks on the house, to make sure that the house is structurally sound, to make sure that there are no issues. Because say you don't want to go and invest in something so expensive. Tapos you find out, you might even find out, a year down the line that there have been issues in the house for so long. So I think that's the most important thing for me. For people to understand is that they need to look at the house, not just how beautiful it is on the outside, but how it actually functions.
Galing. Uy, para rin sa mga tao yan, di ba?
Correct.
Not only on the physical beauty, but more on the inside.
What's on the inside?
Correct. But the same advice that we gave to Katrina yesterday, I'd like to repeat it for you also kasi may plano ka pala, no? So ang in-advise namin sa kanya is actually the rule in buying a house financially on the financial side naman tayo. It should not exceed 3 years of your income. But I'm wondering, ikaw ba mayroon ka bang regular income or do you have a business? Or alam ko kasi pag sa mga modeling ganyan, erratic yung income.
Malaki bigla, di ba ganyan?
Totoo yan. Pero actually, my dad has his own business. He's an engineer in New Zealand. So ever since I moved here, just to make sure that I still have a stable income, because I was working for him back when I lived there then, I've still been working remotely for my dad. So buti na lang, I still have that regular stable income. And then everything else I do is kind of just on the side.
Oo. Okay, so
Mm-mm.
yun yung ano, yun yung rule. It should not exceed 3 years of your annual income. Tapos, if you're gonna get a loan for it, you have to save up 20% of the property value first bago ka kumuha ng loan. Pero nasa construction si Daddy baka
Kaya nila.
kaya. Bigay na nga to, 'di ba?
Kaya itong si V, so kung nasa construction, ang daming lalaki na, di ba?
Kaya nga,
Predominantly male.
feeling ko mapili ka lang, V.
V, ha?
No. No, wala as of the moment. There's no one in mind.
And then there's also one thing, but I will send you a link to the video. There I discussed at this point of your life, is it better to rent or to buy a house? Maybe that would help you. Kasi meron doon 5% rule. Ang ibig sabihin yan, how much is the property that you are eyeing now? If if the amortization that you're going to pay for it is less than 5%, no? Kung yung rental mo ay 5% equivalent nun or lower, it's better for you na mag-rent muna. Pero kung higher, mas magandang bumili ka.
Yes.
But I'll send the link to you para makita. Ayun.
Thank you so
Tapos
much.
you also said nga, kanina pa ako na-excite talaga dito sa low-cost housing niya. And you said that in another interview, you mentioned you wanted to design low-cost sustainable communities for underprivileged Filipinos. Kasi the way that we envision ours is, ayaw namin nung subdivision na talagang, kasi in rural areas to so we'd like to integrate some gardening doon sa kanila din, tapos renewable energy yung titignan. Pero if we were to ask you, ano yung mga sustainable design na mai-introduce mo to these communities?
Honestly, for me, sustainable design, it's not just about, including green or eco-friendly aspects, and it's not just about designing passively, but it's also just about designing for the people that are going to be using the houses. And, something that I have noticed here in the Philippines specifically is that the way our urban planning has panned out and the way our city and our surrounding provinces have ended up is that we have the central node where everyone works, and then they travel for some of them, especially before the pandemic when the traffic was really bad. Some people would travel 3 hours to work and then 3 hours back home. Like, for me, that's not sustainable either. It's not sustainable to have just the central node and then everyone comes towards it. I think we need to rethink our planning and the way that we're designing, because we don't live in a Western country where this works. We live in the Philippines where we need to design for Filipino people. So yeah, for me, that's the most important thing. And that's what I think is more sustainable.
Napaka-accessible nun, V. Kasi yan yung sinasabi natin na hindi naman kinakailangan lahat ay nasa central or sa city.
Correct.
No? Sa periphery talaga kailangan din yan ang development.
Ang isa din na napulot ko in one of the property development, mga socially responsible property development na napuntahan ko, ang sabi nila, yung design din ng Philippines is by our homes, we get segregated. Ito pang mayaman, ito pang middle class, ito pang ganyan, 'di ba? Kaya and that's what we're trying to avoid in the property development that we're doing. So yung sa amin, although it's socialized housing, mayroon pa rin mixed siya. So lalagyan pa rin ng pang teachers na bahay, pang pulis na bahay, pero nandun din yung bahay ng farmers, ng ganyan. Para may may natural mix. At hindi, pupunta ka dyan, pang mayaman yan. Ito, pang
Ang ganda, diba? No? Talagang ako nagsabi na, ang ganda, no?
And I think...
Yes, please.
Sorry. I think that's the best way to avoid, we have this situation at the moment, as well as so many other countries, and the pandemic has only made it worse. We have the situation where the gap between the rich and the poor is just opening further and further apart. So yeah, I think it's a really good idea to bring everyone closer together and create a community where there's not that distinct gap between all the social classes.
Oo nga naman. On a lighter note, what are your hobbies pala?
My hobbies, well, usually it would be traveling. Unfortunately, I don't get to do that as much now. But one of my biggest hobbies is photography. I absolutely love photography.
Okay. So is this the digital photography or yung talagang brick and mortar?
No, it's all digital. I am yet to explore the world of film cameras, but it's something that I want to
Right.
do eventually.
Right.
Oo. So how do you expensive ba ang magkaroon ng photography as a hobby? Kasi I'm thinking ang mahal diyan yung mga camera.
The actual camera, right?
So how do you fund those?
I mean, yeah, it is expensive, but it's more of like at the start, the lump sum that you pay in order to get a camera and to start off with a good camera. Yeah, it's really expensive, especially if you want a really nice one. But I think the most important thing for me was just to make sure that I saved enough to get a camera that was going to last me a long time. Again, quality over quantity. So,
Correct.
I don't have a lot of cameras that I can switch between all the time, but I do have one really, really amazing camera that I've had for I think like 3 years now, and I know it's going to last me forever.
Ang
Oo.
galing.
Oh, that's good. So, maganda yung point niya. It's quality talaga, so you invest in it. But there's also one that I've learned also during the pandemic kasi we're actually, Edwin and I were teachers and we're trainers, no? So talagang we do financial literacy trainings to overseas Filipino workers, so kailangan pumunta dati doon. Tapos biglang nag-pandemic, online na lahat. Ang mahal ng mga gadget, 'di ba, pag mag-aano ka ng mga camera and studios. You know what I did? I bought muna mga second hand at doon ako natuto, mapaglaruan ko siya, ganyan. Masira ko man siya, okay lang, di ba? Tapos nung natuto na ako, doon ako bumili ng maganda. So, yun.
And then kasi naikwento mo kanina na traveling is something that you also really want to do, no? And syempre, before that, the pandemic happened. And now that I hope pandemic is about to end, meron ka bang mga tips sa atin para maging affordable naman ang hobby na traveling?
Oo. Para sa mga travel bugs.
Yes.
I think for me, especially, something I really want to focus on is traveling local muna. I know that we've been shut off to the world for such a long time, but I think it's important to not only support our tourism, but also, our local craft and everything, our local hospitality industry. Yeah, just support local and travel local first and explore the Philippines first. I know there are so many people that they travel overseas, but they've never been to, the southernmost part of Mindanao or whatever. So yeah, I think that's a really exciting thing to just explore our people and our country a little bit more. And also maybe I'm a really big fan of road trips. So even if a plane ticket might be expensive, petrol, it might be a bit cheaper for some people. So yeah, road trips, traveling local, and yeah, supporting local businesses and smaller establishments rather than like the big hotels that might be a little bit too pricey for you. There's nothing wrong with staying somewhere cheaper because you don't want to just stay in the hotel, diba? You want to go and travel and explore. So as long as the bed is comfortable and it's hygienic, then okay lang yan.
Yes.
Actually, kami ni Edwin mahilig sa ganyan. So our work, we're in social development. So we really go in the outskirts of the Philippines. At kung saan kami abutan ng gabi, doon kami matutulog.
Yes.
So doon na lang kami hahanap. And really, tama yun, no? Yung mga cheaper hotels, yan yung mas makakapag-save ng money. And even when we go abroad, what we do is we go to backpack. Anong tawag nga doon? Hostels. Nag-hostels kami, in our 30s. Pero fun, kasi may mga common areas and you can meet people,
And
no?
there are
From
even
all walks of
events.
life. Oo. Ayun. Anyway, tapos na chismis din namin na ikaw daw ay animal lover. Tama ba?
I am, yes, I am.
So anong animals yung that you take care of?
Actually, it's kind of sad. Here in the Philippines, wala akong pets. But in New Zealand naman, we've had so many different animals. We had, at one point we had 6 cats, I think 4 or 5 dogs, 2 turtles, 2 sheep, a goat, and 2 donkeys. That was what we had. We had like our own little farm. Unfortunately, some of them have passed away, but yeah. And then at one point also my dad was considering buying a zoo because my whole family, we just love animals so much. But turns out the zoo was not a good idea financially because it would have cost more money than it would actually give us in return. So that's another financial tip. Don't make that mistake.
Yes. Pero yun, kung dahil nabagit mo kanina, no? And I'm not sure if you were already old enough about the expenses related to your pets way back in New Zealand. Pero kung meron ka bang masasabi na alin yung mga least expensive at saka yung mga really more expensive
to keep us pets.
To keep us pets.
You know, I was so blessed. My dad was the one who took care of all the financial needs of the animals. But you know, all pets are really expensive. But for me, I think the least expensive were probably the turtles, especially because, you know, there's no way that they can injure themselves or anything. They don't fight each other like the dogs or anyone do. And then I think the most expensive was probably the donkeys, kasi medyo weird to have as pets. You know, it's not like a typical pet that you would have, kind of unconventional.
Yeah.
So it made it more expensive to maintain them.
Oo. Kami, we have a dog nga at minsan pag nagpapagupit siya, sinasabi namin, ha? Mas mahal pa yung gupit mo kaysa sa amin.
True.
So, yun kasi akala ng iba, parang it's not expensive, no? Pero it adds up eh.
It adds up.
Oo, parang like lalo na kung dogs na may breed, 'di ba? Kailangan yung food nila, it's in accordance with their breed. Ganyan. So, kaya sinasabi namin na, and it's also one way of also helping the animals is rather than buying, which is actually a very, very big mistake on my end, no? Buying dogs, you just adopt.
Yes,
no?
much better. Yun talaga yung,
because
yun
there are a
talaga
lot of
ang
dogs
lover.
also, or even cats, where, you know, especially I've heard of cases where people might gift a cat or a dog to someone for Christmas, not realizing how much it costs to actually have an animal and take care of an animal. Like, it's like having a child, you know?
Yes.
A child that you don't have to send to school, basically. So yeah, there's been a lot of cases where one of our dogs we also rescued from a animal shelter, and there are stories that we heard about all of the dogs there. You know, I just wanted to take all of them home, or I see dogs on the street that have been abandoned because their owners cannot take care of them, and I wish my condo allowed dogs because I would just take them all. I'd take them all.
Mga condos pa naman, usually they don't allow.
Ayun. So, what are your plans now that the Miss Universe Philippines is finished na? So, are you going back to New Zealand or are you going to stay here in the Philippines?
No, my plan is to stay here. I've always wanted to move to the Philippines, but it was just about finding the right time to do it. So for some reason, I thought that the right time to do it was in the middle of a pandemic, but maybe there's also a purpose for that. Diba? And I ended up being Miss Charity, and there's no better time to do charity work than right now. So yeah, definitely I'll be staying here.
Yay!
Okay.
I think that's really nice. Now, V, do you have any message to your supporters? Because syempre alam namin na up to now, ang dami pa ring diehard VVV fans.
Oo nga. Actually, you know what? When, yung mga friends namin, before the pageant pa ito, before the finals, kasi Jonas is a good friend of mine. And nagtatanong ako sa mga friends ko kung sino yung i-request ko kay Jonas na i-interviewin. Ikaw yung sobrang across the board. Si BBB. Si BBB, napag-google kami.
That's so sweet. If I were to say anything to my supporters, first and foremostly, thank you. It has been a wild ride, but it has been so worthwhile. And, you know, as someone who I've never joined pageants before, and like I said, I just moved to the Philippines at the start of the year. So I was so fresh in the situation, but I felt like even though I was away from my family, I was never alone here in the Philippines because I had the support of so many people. So thank you guys so much. And I look forward to whatever the Philippines and I have in store for each other.
And so, we stay tuned for that, syempre.
Pero kung kunwari kami isipin mo kami mga fairy godmothers, ganyan, and we will grant you one wish so that you will stay here in the Philippines. Ano yun?
Honestly, my one wish would be for the pandemic to be over for a multitude of reasons. So first, a little bit selfish, but so my parents can come and visit me here. But then at the same time, just so other people don't have to struggle as much as they have been for the past 2 years. And so that, you know, I know as Miss Charity, I know there are a lot of things that I should be going out and doing, in the communities. And actually, when I first moved here to the Philippines, I think we were in ECQ or MECQ, something like that. And I was reaching out to so many organizations, so many charities, saying, "Let me help you. I want to help you," but they were like, "Oh, so no, sorry, po, ma'am, we are not accepting volunteers because it's not safe." So, yeah, for so many reasons, so that Filipinos can come home, so that people can visit their families, but also and especially so that we don't all these people don't have to suffer so much, and the people that want to help can truly go out and help.
Kasama mo kami in praying for that and wishing for that.
Oo. Naku, napaka talaga, no? Sobrang aligned sa kanyang title na
Miss
Miss Charity.
Charity,
Di ba?
To be charitable.
So true to herself. Ayan. So maraming salamat sa iyo, V. We really enjoyed talking to you and we hope you all the best. At sana yung mga iniisip mo, mga pinapangarap mo, magkatotoo.
Yes.
And of course, hopefully next time we'll welcome you back again here in our show.
Right.
I'd love that. Thank you so much, and thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone has a Merry Christmas.
Ayan.
Happy holidays,
Okay, happy
V.
holidays.
See you.
Ayan, napakaganda naman ng ating Miss Charity,
Miss Charity,
Miss Universe
oo.
Philippines. Parang tuloy, next time nga, kung pakuha nga ako ng ticket dyan ha, at nanonood na tayo talaga, no? So yun. So sana po nag-enjoy kayo at marami na naman kayong natutunan. Actually, mga na-pick up na kaunti about lifestyle, about entertainment, and about pera.
At saka mas nakilala yung mga tao.
Correct.
Right.
Oo. So kami po ang inyong mga financial guro, nagsasabing, ako pala si Sir Vince.
At ako naman, Sir Ed.
Nagsasabing ang pagyaman
Napag-aaralan
at napagtutulungan.